Hey everyone, Django Fett here, hunting down games, comics, TV shows, movies, and more, and this is a review for Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron. Book 1 of 10 books, believe it or not. And this is not to be confused with the Rogue Squadron video game or the comic series, this is the novelization. So this came out back in 1996, believe it or not, and written by Michael A. Stack. Close to half of the books would be predominantly written by Michael A. Stackpole, then, other writers would be involved with the rest of the series. But Michael A. Stackpole is involved heavily, and this is actually set during the New Republic era for Legends. So set 6.5 years after the Battle of Yavin. So I'm going to do some minor stories for this book, but I'm not going to spoil too much, I would say. But let's read the back of the book and just to get you guys into it. They are sleek, swift, and deadly. They are the X-Wing fighters. And as the struggle rages across the vastness of space, the fearless men and women who pilot them risk both their lives and their machines. Their mission? To defend the Rebel Alliance against a still, powerful, and battle-hardened Imperial foe in a last-ditch effort to control the stars. Its very name strikes fear into the enemy hearts, so when Rebel hero Reg Antilles rebuilds the legendary Rogue Squadron, he seeks out not only the best, the most skilled, the most daring X-Wing pilots. Through arduous training and dangerous missions, he weeds out the weak from the strong, assembling a group of hard-bitten warriors willing to fight, ready to die. Antilles knows the grim truth, that even with the best X-Wing jockeys in the galaxy, many will not survive their near-suicidal missions. But when the Rogue Squadron is ordered to assist in the assault on the heavily fortified stronghold of Black Moon, even the bravest must wonder if any at all will survive. So, in a nutshell, Wedge Antilles is rebuilding his Rogue Squadron. He's the leader, of course. And they've been a thing for a while, but, war does that where you lose people, or people retire, or things happen. So, he has to pretty much rebuild his team, practically from the ground up. And you'll recognize a few names if you're familiar with the Rogue Squadron series, but if not, and this is your first entry, like myself, you'll be more than welcome. This is more than accepting for fans who know nothing about X-Wing Rogue Squadron, as it should be. And you'll see some recurring characters, not just Wedge Antilles, but you also see someone, he chooses a member like Tycho Shelko, one of the OG members of Rogue Squadron. And he does have an interesting past, and recruits a few others. But with Tycho, I did see him in another comic series, so there's going to be that recurring character feeling with him. And he recruits a few others, including Corran Horn. Many Legends fans already know this guy. Legendary Jedi Master in the New Republic era. But he didn't really start off like that in the beginning. It's much different. He actually starts off becomes a X-Wing ace, pretty much, in the series. Then transitions later on, finds out he has, Jedi powers and becomes a Jedi Master trained under Luke Skywalker. I actually didn't really know much about Corran Horn, but he really grew on me as a lead character in the series, and didn't really know he started off as a Rogue Squadron member. And this novel threw me off, and threw a curveball at me because the emphasis I thought would be on Wedge. And, to an extent it is. Wedge really works. He's a bit of an asshole, let's just say that, because there is a point to that, though. But I didn't really understand it, like, why is he being so tough on them? But, you're on these near-suicidal missions, you're supposed to be the elite, and you're supposed to be tough on these people. He's kind of like, in a sense, he's like a drill sergeant to them. But he wants them to survive, in a sense, to be tough on them in order to survive. But he also gets friendly with them, later on, of course. But he is tough on them early on, and you're just like, what the heck? This is not the Wedge I knew, but, he does become the Wedge you grew in love. Both Corran Horn and Wedge really worked for me. And, the other members you see in the background, they also worked as well. We also get the introduction of Kirtan Lore, an Imperial agent, and the menacing Yasan Isard. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Yasan Isard? You'll know this by her picture right here. The arch enemy of the Rogue Squadron, in a sense. And both worked. Kirtan was more the main villain in the story, But I expect Yasan to have a bigger role later on, for sure, as the main antagonist for this series. And I must say, I enjoyed the hell out of this book. I listened to the audiobook. It helps with the epic soundtrack and the Star Wars, laser sounds and stuff like that. It really helps build you into that atmosphere quite a bit. And it had an exciting story and didn't let up with the action revolving around the rogues. Attacking certain targets and dealing with the Imperials. I must say, I was never really interested in this series at first, because I'm not a fan of, aerial combat and stuff like that. And I thought it would be kind of boring. But I was wrong. This is a great start to the series, and, I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more of this for sure. So I'm going to give Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron, the novelization, book 1 of the series, A. Now, something cool I didn't know about is that the simulated battle in the beginning of this book is based on a mission from the X-Wing video game, the Star Wars X-Wing video game, which came out back in 1993, so 3 years earlier. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter games were releasing before and after the Rogue Squadron series, but I don't think I'll cover those games. They're quite old and they don't really work very well, and I just don't really know the hang of it. But I will cover the Rogue Squadron games. Now, this Nintendo 64 game, I'm not really sure about, but the GameCube games, I definitely need to cover. I'm really interested in those. I've actually played a little bit, like the demos and stuff, but I really want to play the entire games. I'm really interested in those. And I'll also be covering the Dark Horse comics as well, the Rogue Squadron comics. I've already finished Volume 1, so I'm going to start doing a review after I, finish this review, of course. Let me know what you think of Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron. I didn't spoil really too much. But the next novel and so forth, I'm definitely going to be spoiling quite a bit of those novels. But for this one, I wanted to give you guys a taste of this and highly recommend you guys check out this novel if you haven't already. So don't forget to please like this video, comment down below, tell me what you think of X-Wing Rogue Squadron in the comment section below, and subscribe to my channel, Django Fett, if you haven't already, and I'll see you, my fellow Mandoa, brothers and sisters, next time. Ooh, yeah.